Have you ever wondered how to stop your dog from barking? All kinds of barking? I'm gonna take 19 years of experience on this one topic and condense it into one single video. And let's be real, barking can happen for a variety of reasons, as we're going to cover. And I want you guys to understand that I'm committed to making sure that our sponsors are of the highest quality and value to you. If you're one of those people who really wants to give your dog very premium food, it's hard to beat Nom Nom. This is fresh cooked food that's shipped to you. They arrive completely frozen, so you put them in your freezer. All the work and nutritional balancing for your dog is done for you. There is a very real science behind giving your dog the exact nutritional needs that is really hard to replicate if you don't know exactly what you're doing. It's one of the reasons I find great value with Nom Nom. It's not like their food is just chicken, beef, and some vegetables. Their nutritionists have carefully balanced each meal and made sure to add everything that dogs need, which is different than what people need. Ideally, with all of the beneficial ingredients in Nom Nom's food, your dog will be too busy enjoying their meal to bark. Everyone in our audience can get half off a 2-week supply with my special link. I'll have it in the description. Trynom.com/Zach. Now let's get back to discussing all of the other things you can do about that barking. To achieve long-term success in barking issues, it's vital that we address the underlying cause rather than just the symptom, which is the barking. By comprehending the reasons behind a dog's barking, you can help your dog feel more comfortable and more secure. Barking is a natural way for dogs to express their emotions and to communicate with humans and other dogs. Here's a few common reasons that dogs tend to bark. Alerting, like signaling that people are at the door or unfamiliar noises. For example, this is Arwen.
When someone knocks at the door, Arwen goes crazy. She runs to the door, she lunges, she wants to see what's going on. It's really difficult to get her under control because she's just so focused on what's going on.
Another type of barking is attention-seeking barking or boredom barking behavior. This is Calliope. Why do you think she's barking right now?
I think she really wants our attention. She typically barks when she wants something. She also barks when she wants our attention, especially if we're doing something, cooking dinner, putting up the dishes.
It sounds like she barks under all possible circumstances.
Pretty much.
Some dogs bark because of fear or anxiety. They might be reacting to unfamiliar situations, like fireworks or storms or new people or new places.
Well, whenever a new person walks into the house, especially a man, she's more apprehensive and she gets scared. She barks, her hair raises up.
I was over here a few days ago and I could see she was really uncomfortable in my presence. I mean, when I stood up, for example, she was really thrown off by that.
And if your dog barks excessively when they're alone, that might be a manifestation of separation anxiety.
Inertia wanting to be near me when I go out. This is normal for puppies. I mean, they love being near us.
Some dogs seem to bark because of a territorial issue. That's where unfamiliar people or things enter their sphere.
He loves people.
When I met him a couple of days ago, I came over here to meet you guys, and he went crazy when he saw me out there. He was like, "Who are you? What are you doing over here?"
Barking can also be a social behavior exhibited amongst dogs. So dogs can bark in response to other dogs barking. Dogs can bark out of frustration sometimes. I mean, think about it. Sometimes when people are frustrated, they vocalize. So do dogs. So those are the most common reasons that dogs bark that I can think of. But how do you decide which of those reasons applies to your dog? Or is it a combination or more than one of those reasons? The best way to do this is to observe the dog's behavior, their body language, and the context in which they're barking. That'll help you identify the underlying cause.
You could see her tail in between her legs and her ears back as she barked, indicating that she just really wasn't comfortable. See how her tail was wagging? That's more of a nervous tail wagging, kind of waving back and forth rather than wagging vigorously. Looking at her piloerection, that's when their hair stands up on the back of their neck, and it seems to have gone down. That's good. I mean, she's a little bit more comfortable.
Consider factors such as the time of day, specific triggers, and the duration and the intensity of the barking. Paying attention to these details are going to give you a lot of valuable insight into your dog's needs. That's going to help you address this issue far more effectively. Now, you can also look at things like their specific vocal tones, which might be able to clue you in to specific messages that your dog is trying to exhibit. Of course, every dog is different. You know your dog best. For example, a low growl might signal a warning or a potential threat.
You heard that growl right there. Oftentimes when a dog growls, we have this association that, oh, that means that they're aggressive or they're about to do something mean. Actually, growling is a pretty good thing, largely speaking, because it's a dog being very open about their emotions and expressing how they feel.
High-pitched yelps or whines could indicate pain, fear, or distress. Continuous or rapid high-pitched barks
Oh boy, she caught me off guard there.
might signify alertness, excitement, urgency, or even fear. Howling, that can occur for several reasons, including loneliness, communication, or responding to certain sounds. Form a hypothesis as to why your dog might be barking. Now we'll develop a strategy to address it. What is it that you do to get your dog's attention on you when they start barking or doing something that you would prefer they not do? In the majority of circumstances, you will not stop all barking at one time. Your goal is going to be to create a trend of less barking over time.
Oh, and over here, good. So right there, just a little bit of barking, so we're already starting to see a bit of improvement here.
That will be our measure of success. What if your dog is barking to alert you or warn you about something?
Next door.
I mean, to me and many of you, this isn't the worst thing a dog can do. But if you don't teach your dog that 1 or 2 barks is enough, this can easily escalate until it's out of control.
See, right there, she's distracted by something.
Which is probably why a lot of you are watching this video, I'm guessing.
Very alert. This isn't just a yappy bark. This is a dog who sees something, the wind blowing, I'm not sure. Yes.
Now, in those cases, we want to acknowledge our dog's concern. Thank you for letting me know, dog. And then redirect their attention to an appropriate activity.
Let's go. Good man. Let's go.
We're going to teach our dogs a word like quiet or relax when it's time to stop barking. We'll cover more on that a little later. It's so tempting for many to discipline barking, but we have to remember, dogs need to be able to bark. It's a natural expression for them. Now, granted, we don't want them to do it all of the time, and we can definitely reduce barking. But to expect them to be quiet 100% of the time isn't very ethical.
The real question for me is, can I get her under control after a brief barking outburst? And then hopefully we can minimize unwanted barking over time.
A lot of people would look at this and say, Zach, you're just letting her bark. You're not addressing anything at all. But I really want to double down on this idea that it is okay for a dog to express an emotion in a natural way.
My emphasis is on letting her know what I do like instead of what I don't like. It is shocking how much progress you can make with that strategy.
If your dog barks when someone knocks on the door or when you get visitors or someone rings the doorbell, you can teach your dog to associate those events with something really good for them as well as calmer behavior.
Knock 1 time. Good. Go ahead and knock 3 times. Good work, very good. My long-term game plan here is that when she hears a knock on the door, I'm teaching her to look to me for direction rather than just reacting.
Go a little bit out of your way to desensitize your dog to the sound of someone knocking or a doorbell to get them used to those sounds happening. And in addition to that, show them how you would prefer they behave instead.
You can see by easing her into it, she's a lot more responsive.
Whenever you get quiet behavior, if you will reinforce that by giving them something that they like, whatever it is, make quiet work for your dog. And the same goes for attention-seeking behavior or boredom barking. You want to reinforce quiet behavior. That can be a little challenging sometimes, though.
She's saying, I really want to play with that ball. What are you waiting on? But we want to let her know you're only going to get this ball when you're quiet. So we want to make sure that we time our rewards during moments of quiet. Yes, good. There was a brief moment of silence there.
Start with just a half a second, or a full second, or maybe 2 seconds.
6, 7, up. I pushed her to failure there. I'm going to take a step back. Look at me. Quiet. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay, I'm going to try 10 seconds again. 8, 9, 10. Yes, good. I'm going to give her a really extra big reward there.
This is how we can prevent confusion so that a dog doesn't start to think, oh, the barking is what got me the treat. Which would be a good question if you were wondering that. We start to insist on just slightly longer periods of time after the barking. And most dogs will figure out that it's the quiet and not the barking that's getting them the treat. Make sure you're providing them with regular exercise as well as mental stimulation. We can't forget about that part. What's your favorite thing to do to provide mental or physical stimulation for your dog when you're training them? And a well-socialized dog might be less likely to bark as well, so you can set up play dates with dogs who have similar play styles to your own dog. When it comes to vocalizing due to fear or anxiety, we have to understand that these emotions can be very complex and really vary from dog to dog. And addressing the underlying cause might be challenging in some of these situations. It's really important to make sure that they have a safe space to go to where they feel secure. For many dogs, this might be a crate that they enjoy or their bed in a corner of the living room. I am going to have a more detailed video that addresses fear and anxiety in the description. But in short, you'll want to get them used to things that cause them fearfulness and anxiety on terms that your dog is comfortable with, as well as change their emotional response to these various triggers.
Do you want this? And look at this, it's amazing what Turkey will do. You can see she's a lot more comfortable. She's in a playful mood. There we go, there's the tug. That's what I'm looking for. Tug of war is a really natural game for dogs to play. And if you can get them playing tug, that's a surefire sign that they're very comfortable with you.
With separation anxiety related barking,
Opening this. See, it's right when I open the door. We can identify that as the trigger.
we want to make sure we're addressing the underlying cause as well. Are they getting enough physical exercise and mental exercise? Are you training them regularly? Are you doing it early in the day or just before leaving your dog alone, for example? Ideally, you'll want to make sure your dog is comfortable with being alone for short periods, even if it's just 10 seconds in the bedroom while you're in the living room.
Yes, good. Right there, what was it, like a half a second of silence? Nice job. Really spending some time around the thing that's triggering her to bark right here. Now here, let me see what happens when I go over the threshold. Yes, good work, very good. Now I wanna be clear, this is no magic answer to solving this type of anxiety. This is just working her through how to behave in short bursts. This would require a lot of repetition over time. Oh, look at that, I got the door shut and everything.
Start there and then gradually increase the time that your dog spends alone to help them become more comfortable with solitude over time. Odds are that when you do address that underlying cause and you do slowly get your dog comfortable with being alone, that this excessive barking is very likely to subside. Again, we're looking for trends of less and less barking. Now, if your dog is barking because they're behaving territorially or seeming to defend their area, it's vital that you're present in those situations. You have to actively supervise them so that you can show them how you want them to behave. It's really normal for dogs to feel protective of their living space or to be thrown off when something comes into that space. So the idea is that over time, we can communicate to them that they don't need to feel so protective. For example, if your dog tends to really bark fiercely in the yard as people or dogs walk by,
Sorry.
be sure that you're prioritizing training exercises where your dog voluntarily pays attention to you outside of these over threshold moments where your dog is too excited to listen to you currently. The way that I typically teach this is, hey dog, leave treat alone, look at me instead. Okay, you get a treat. And then I gradually start making that exercise more and more challenging. Introducing toys, introducing sounds, introducing fast-moving objects, introducing stay when they normally don't have to, such as when I'm throwing a frisbee and tell them to stay in mid-stride.
Stay.
This is how we teach our dogs to listen to us quickly and abruptly in situations that are surprising or exciting to them.
She's about to be surprised. Yes, good, lie down. You almost saw her think about barking there. I was able to intervene there and get the attention on me before the outburst occurred. That really is your best time. Dogs will give you a little bit of foreshadowing just about all of the time. For example, you'll see their eyes light up or their ears perk up and they look very alert. Sometimes they only give you a microsecond's notice. Focus on really getting to know your dog in that way, and that'll put you in a much better position to work on issues like this.
Practice interrupting your dog's barking by calling them and rewarding them for compliant behavior. Now again, this is something you need to set up and practice. This not only helps you address the unwanted behavior of barking, but you're also helping to instill a recall with distractions.
All right, another jogger coming up over here, and she's right up on him. Inertia, come. Yes, good. Lie down. Perfect, stay. Yes, love how she looked at me. You've heard me talk about the leave it, look at me combo. That was an example. She looked at the distraction and then looked at me, so I was able to give her guidance there.
When they're too excited to come to you when you call them where they otherwise would comply if they weren't as excited, that's your cue to take a step back and focus on training things like come when called. Or look at me around more minor distractions first. And of course, while you're working on this type of training, you can focus on managing your dog's barking and reduce it in other ways by modifying their environment. For example, if your dog is barking at something on the street, you can close your curtains or blinds. In addition to that, be sure to open those windows when you are paying attention to your dog so that you can reinforce calm behavior at first when nothing is outside of the window, and then when a car drives by, and then when maybe a person walks by and you catch them before they bark, and you're there to reinforce and say, hey, I like that. That's where you really start to make progress. Time your rewards during moments of quiet. I like to use the word yes to communicate to my dog. I like that exact behavior right there.
Yes. I mean, right there, you could see it in her eyes. She was really thinking about barking. She used some minor restraint. We need to acknowledge those small bits of progress.
And sometimes it's challenging to catch those very tiny moments of quiet.
Notice I'm being very careful to not reward during the barking.
I've had with some dogs to mark the yes as they're taking a breath for their next bark.
Yes. I mean, right there, you could see it in her eyes. She was really thinking about barking. She used some minor restraint.
Now, ultimately, we still would like to have the option to have our dogs respond to a word like quiet or relax.
I know, he's right there. It's normal. Look, he's right there.
Really tough for her.
Yes. Veronica.
Okay, Bree is trying to preempt a serious barking outburst.
You really want to focus on finding
Yes,
some
good
way
girl.
to acknowledge quiet moments with your dog.
She's like barely listening to me, but she's not barking. Yes, quiet. Good. I don't mind if you watch if you're quiet. Oh, do you want to relax?
Look at that. She just offered it.
You do.
And the way we do that is through capturing. For example, when they're naturally quiet, maybe shortly after an outburst, we can say,
girl.
quiet,
That's relaxed.
as if to tell them what they're doing so that they can start to understand over time the context of when you say that word. This is probably the most important one. Anticipate situations where you think your dog might bark
We have another dog coming up.
and prevent the behavior, at least at first, by asking them to do something incompatible before they even have the chance to start barking.
You can see she's looking a little alert there. Stay. She's just discovered the other dog. Good girl. Nice job. I love that automatic look at me right there she's giving me.
And remember what we said earlier? Nobody knows your dog like you do, and I'm willing to bet that you're able to predict when they are about to start barking with great accuracy.
Inertia, come. Good girl. I know. You hear that conflicted vocalization. Good girl. I know it's hard. You're doing great.
If at any point during this training you find that your dog is just too inconsolable and nothing you're doing seems to get through to them, that means for now you need to have a strong emphasis on management while you set your dog up for success doing a variety of the exercises we've talked about so far. You can use techniques to reduce barking triggers, such as making sure your dog has a comfortable space, perhaps in another bedroom where you can insulate them from triggers.
It's up to you as your dog's person and trainer and parent to make sure that you're doing everything you can to keep your dog comfortable and at ease.
Making sure that you're able to provide something that your dog can do instead, like a really good dog chew or a food dispensing toy. Have a consistent routine where you get up, you exercise your dog nice and early so that they can feel fulfilled physically and mentally. I know some people have found it helpful to have background noises like soft music or a fan to distract from other things that might tempt a dog to bark. And of course, when we're addressing barking, consistency and patience are key. Everyone in your household must be on the same page for best results. Make sure to regularly practice these training exercises and be consistent when you go to reward your dog way longer than you think you need to. Be very clear when you're communicating with your dog throughout the process, and understand that your dog isn't going to generalize this quiet behavior, and understand that they need to be quiet in all of the contexts that you want them to be quiet in very quickly. So we need to be patient and have realistic expectations when it comes to this.
If you can manage to get your dog to this point, again, be patient with it. It's not going to come very easily initially, but when it comes, you're able to really get a lot of traction.
If you follow the recommendations that I've given here, I would expect you to start to see a reduction in barking within the first couple of weeks. Never forget that barking, even the excessive variety, is communication. It's so critical to avoid using harsh, punishing methods, because you actually run the very real risk of inadvertently creating a negative association with things that your dog is barking at, and that can be very problematic moving forward. If you do use positive reinforcement and you exhibit patience and management and all of the things we've talked about, you're not only going to get a handle on this behavior, but you're actually going to grow closer with your dog in the process strengthening your overall communication. That's the beauty. Trinom.com/Zach. Everyone in our audience can get half off a 2-week supply with my special link. I'll have it in the description. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and we'll see you in the next video.